Hey everyone, this is Erica with Creators and Copy, and we are here with Mr. Ian Lehn of BOOSTane. And we wanted to ask him, as a brand that actually works with content creators, with influencers, with drivers, what is it, Ian, welcome, that you look for when you are working with creators or influencers to represent BOOSTane on your behalf?
I'm so glad you guys are doing this because I think that there's a lot of different thoughts around this. So this is just my opinion and what I've seen as being successful.
Okay.
Obviously there's the quantifiable data that's very easy to look at. If we're looking for, you're looking ultimately for engagement, and you look at influencers that have big followings. But there is a difference between macro influencers and micro influencers and their various levels of engagements. You'll find some people that'll have, 1 million followers, but their engagement level is so low that it's almost negligible because, the people are following them just because it's entertaining. They're not necessarily curious about what they're talking about. It's just that they're jumping over the top of something or doing something kind of crazy. And usually the larger the following, the bigger the price tag. And then you'll find folks that are that micro influencer that may only have 10,000 or 15,000 followers, but their engagement level is through the roof. And it's because people are very interested to hear what this person's talking about. And I think about my buddy Jake at Fast Fuel Systems. I mean, he's one of those guys where his stuff it's usually entertaining, it's funny, but it's usually got a lot of good info, So there's always that quantifiable thing where you want to see a good number of followers, but then you want to see a good level of engagement. That's kind of like the first hurdle. The second hurdle is just the authenticity of the person. Are they, when they're making videos, do they feel comfortable? Does it sound like they're reading from a script, or are they talking from their heart about what their passion is?
Yeah.
You can take, and our industry is pretty fickle and jaded and skeptical. So I think if anybody's going to suss out whether or not somebody's being ingenuine or disingenuous or not genuine, whatever the right word is.
Well, it's not a grammar podcast, so
I was never good at vocab. I think our industry and the aftermarket community in general does that better than anybody. Like the lie detector test on people, like we all have that spidey sense of being like, that guy doesn't know what he's talking about, or he just read the pamphlet twice. So I think it's being very genuine. And then ultimately, the folks that we're most successful with are typically people that are willing to have a conversation and set some goals and some expectations. I know it's it's particularly important for BOOSTane just because we make fuels and fuel additives. So it's not something that you can really see. It's right. All you got to be able to tell the story, and telling that story of why you would use our product and make that correlation to their following is very dependent upon their engagement level, which I think is a direct correlation to how genuine they come off as. So it kind of all ties together.
Yeah.
But if you're able to set expectations with the manufacturer, and if you're a manufacturer, set expectations and goals with the influencer, obviously setting some do's and don'ts.
Yeah.
And educating educating the influencer. I think if the influencer believes that it's a solution for them, then their audience is going to believe it's a solution for them as well. So you got to kind of got to sell the influencer on your product as well. And if they're talking to you, that's probably because they like your product, or at least they're interested. Yeah, they're not just looking for a paycheck.
Exactly. Now, what is something that you would say? Those are all great tips, right? So you do look at the data, kind of first pass. And no, you don't have to have 1 million followers. That's actually a question we get a lot when people talk to us at shows that are creators that are like, man, I only have 50,000 followers, but they're really engaged. Is that enough? Because they hear the millions and the two. I'm like, that's great. 50,000 is great. Yeah, that's huge. And then the second part, you talked about is that authenticity, right? And really, coming across, being passionate about it. And then, that third tip is, right, having that conversation, setting goals, setting expectations. And that's a responsibility both of the brand and the creator, and taking that time. And I think those are good tips for any brands watching this, any manufacturers, and the creators as well, is finding the time. And I would say too, if you're a content creator and a brand doesn't bring that up, bring it up. Say you want to spend time setting some goals and expectations, because if the brand or the manufacturer is not willing to do that with you, there's a pretty good chance that you won't get renewed or it won't get re-upped, because they have no clue what they're looking for.
Yeah.
Right. And that puts, I think, the creators in a tough spot as well. You mentioned do's and don'ts. So anything, don't name names or don't give it away of what it is, because, we don't want to trash anybody here. But what is it, like a don't that you're like, oh, I think it's tough. I think some creators try to stand out or do, and so it's like, but they don't necessarily know maybe the guidelines always.
Yeah, as an engineer, like, I'm the last person to give recommendations to an ambassador or a creator. Like, I usually always say, like, I'll give you the highlights and what we're looking for, but you're the artist. I'm not trying to tell you how to be, to paint this picture. And I think every brand has this. I think every brand is going to have some don'ts. So just ask up front.
That's great.
BOOSTane being a fuel, and we have an additive. And there's the legal don'ts, and then there's like the just that doesn't make sense don'ts. Like, we've had people act like they're drinking it. It's like, oh God, if this gets posted, I'm going to get immediately a phone call from my lawyer, like that this needs to get pulled down. So I think it's just, hey, what shouldn't I do? And I'll scratch that off right now, because there's going to be plenty of stuff to do and think outside the box and have fun with. But ask up front, because I do know making videos takes time, and editing and doing all that stuff. So you don't want to do all that work and then that video have to be scrapped or re-edited because you did something that is a big faux pas for somebody. Just ask up front.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you so much, Ian. Now, if someone was interested in being a brand ambassador for BOOSTane or working with you all, what is the process? Do you guys have a certain open window? Do they go to your website? What does that look like now?
Yeah. Right now, it's shooting us an email, like on our Instagram, BOOSTane official, or sending us an email and just saying, hey, I'm interested, or hitting me up on Facebook. I mean, we have them, and we take a look at everybody, and follower count. I say that up front, but I think there's a difference between having an engagement rate and reaching a large audience, and then content creation. Because some of the best content that we've received has been from ambassadors that have had less than 5,000 followers, but they're talented photographers. They're talented videographers. They're great storytellers. Now, some of them have gone on since us and have gotten huge, and, we've become friends, and maybe we still get a deal, but, we wouldn't be able to afford them now. But some people are just great content creators. So use somebody else to tell your story and repurpose it. And that comes back to the expectations. So we have people that are reaching out, or I've had customers that I've liked their vehicles, and I can tell that they're really passionate. And I'm like, listen, shoot some videos for us. I'll send you some product, and we'll tell the story for you. Yeah. But brands are always looking for content. So people that are doing that stuff, that's always valuable. And just reach out and ask, just like us. Anybody of any size, we're excited to talk to, especially if you're passionate and you follow through. Like, you do not want, You do not want to be the creator that burned a brand by taking
Right.
product that did not
So
do
yeah, it's
something.
like the second don't, right? You know, don't forget
If
to
you
follow
hoodwink
through.
somebody, you can skin a cat once,
Right.
that's
Yeah, and
about
that
it.
gets around, certainly. So, well, with
Oh
that,
yeah.
thank you so much, Ian. We appreciate having you on Creators in Copy and appreciate these quick tips.
Awesome.